Sinamkele kwakho kwinkqubo yethu iVOB Voice of the Bay. Lifikile kaloku elo xesha kwakho intsimbi yesixhenxe ibethile. Khumbula kaloku kwilizwe loMzantsi Afrika owona mcimbi phambili mihla le lulonyulo oluzayo le 29th kaMeyi kunyaka u2024. Amaqela ezopolitiko azawungenelela ulonyulo asatyhila imanifesto zawo imiqulu yazo yezithembiso. Kanti kule mpelaveki mathathu amaqela ebetyhila imanifesto. Kumbutho weAZAPO, kumbutho we-ATM, African Transformation Movement, kanti kwakhona nombutho we-Action SA. Sizamile ke ukumema umbutho we-SA, Action SA, kodwa ke ilinge lethu liwe phantsi. Kanti ke umbutho weAZAPO kunye nathi, kodwa ke kwixesha elizayo ndiqinisekile amaqela afana ne-ATM siza kwabona nawo kweli qonga. Makhe sijonge siqwalasele umbutho weAZAPO. Yakhumbula ke umbutho weAZAPO ukhokelwa nguye umhlekazi uNelvis Xekema. He is the leader of AZAPO. Kakhona uyakhumbula umbutho lo weAZAPO awuyonxalenye yamaqela sepalamente. Bakwazile ke kodwa ukwenza kangangoko ukuqinisekisa into yokuba i-signature campaign yabo iba yimpumelelo. Kodwa ke endikunye naye sathi sibe kanti sijonge imicimbi eliqela nikumdla kakhulu kwimanifesto yabo nguye uSecretary General umhlekazi uChris Swephu. Kanti ke umhlalutyi wethu wezopolitiko umhlekazi Mpumelelo Bond Nyoka saba kunye naye kwisegment yethu u4 and 5. Kodwa ke ngaleli thuba masamkele uSecretary General. Secretary General, masikwamkele kwinkqubo yethu iVoice of the Bay. Good evening and welcome.
Siyabulisa ngobuthi siyabulisa nakubabukeli bale nkqubo.
Over the weekend, you unveiled your election manifesto, which contains a number of issues, very interesting issues. Some of the issues that you spoke of last Sunday, it was an issue of borders, the abolition of legislatures, the issue of referendum, whereby your president mentioned that if the referendum that deals or that call on capital punishment, you are 100% behind that call because of the high rate of crime. Another issue that you spoke about is the issue of border management, the issue of land question, the issue of grants. There are a number of them. The issue of nationalization of land. But interestingly, your president spoke about guarantees, but not promises. What are you saying?
What we are saying is that our people have been promised a number of things previously. They no longer believe in these promises. Parties have been coming and promising the same thing every 5 years without having even interacted.
So you are not referring to one party on issue of promises?
No, certainly. I mean, you have various parties in charge of various pieces of the land. The Western Cape is a different party. Remember, we're a federal system, a semi-federal system. We are not a unitary state. That's why various parties have got some pockets of power everywhere in the country, and they've been promising the same thing, jobs and everything. What we did, however, with our manifesto, during the signature campaign, we listened to our people. We used it as a listening campaign. So this guarantee of service delivery is a product of that consultation. So it is a people's manifesto in that sense. That's how different it is. We did actual consultation with our people. That's why we chose last week only to launch our manifesto.
Again, on the 21st of March this year, the government of this country was commemorating the 30th of human rights. And again, the government was promoting democracy in this country. When the president was delivering his manifesto on behalf of Azapo at large. He spoke about the 30 years or 30 wasted years of democracy. Surprisingly, one of your president, Dr. Mosibutu Mangena, was given an opportunity to lead Science and Technology Department. He was part, when you were part as Azapo, of the fourth administration, if I'm correct. How now can you say 30 wasted years? And yet, your former president is also benefiting things like pension. Even your current president was part of that office of Dr. Mosibutu Mangena. He is also benefiting. He does have pension of these 30 wasted years of democracy.
No, thank you very much. You are dealing with two different things. I also worked for government, and Azapo people have a right to work for government and have pensions. They are citizens of this country. But let's separate that from political appointments. And firstly, let me start with where you started in responding to you. The government on the 21st of March did not say it was commemorating. They said they are celebrating human rights. It is us who commemorate because we have a context that this is not, people have died here, and they are celebrating human rights. Now, we can just look at the human rights history just under the 30 years of the ANC's rule. Where is Andries Datane? Where are the miners of Marikana? Is there something worth celebrating there? But let me just pass there because you also passed there. I'm walking on your path. Yes, we believe that this is 30 wasted years. Our people were promised freedom. There was euphoria of voting and so on. We understood, and we stood away from that CODESA. We are proud as a party that today people are saying Azapo was right. These are 30 wasted years. There is no land in this freedom. In fact, there is no freedom in this freedom. It's politicians and their concubines that are celebrating. The people are landless, the people are jobless, the people are hungry, young people are on nyaope. But let me go to your question about Dr. Mosibutu Mangena. We are very proud of that president. When President Thabo Mbeki approached him, he knew that this is a scientist, this is someone who understands this area. Dr. Mosibutu Mangena was Deputy Minister of Education. He introduced the Maths and Science program that this country is priding itself of. You and I know how the Department of Science and Technology performed under President Mangena. That is our green book of governance. If you to take what our former president and honorary president did with the Department of Science
So
and
you
Technology.
separate his contribution from this, what you are calling 30 wasted years?
Look, even as we say 30 wasted years, Professor, you must remember, we are not saying there is not a single thing that is good about this. We'll be naive if we say in the 30 years there hasn't been pockets of goodness. I mean, we stayed under apartheid where we were separated and so on. So under democracy, there are those improvements. But when we talk of 30 wasted years, we are talking about the fundamentals of freedom. Remember, we were not struggling to go to the same bathrooms with white people, to go to the same restaurants with white people, which is what we are celebrating today. We were struggling to get our land back. We were struggling for self-determination. We were struggling for freedom. And all these things are not there. So I'm saying the narrative that we were part of the wasted years is not correct. In fact, having been part of science and technology, our president have proven what Azapo can do if it were to be given governance in this country. You must also remember he emerged scandal-free. Did not go to the Zondo Commission. There's never been any accusations against him. He is an example of what an Azapo government would do.
We will leave it there for now. Secretary General of Azapo, Mr. Chris Sweep. We'll go for a commercial ad break and continue after that with our discussion of Azapo manifesto for 2024 elections. Sibuyele khona sinamkela kwinkqubo yethu iVOB Voice of the Bay. It's elections time. Once again, good evening, Secretary General of Azapo, Mr. Chris Sweep. In your manifesto, your president spoke about the nationalization of land, the nationalization of Reserve Bank. Why your party want to nationalize these two institutions?
It's not only these two institutions that we want
but
to
let's talk about
nationalize.
these two institutions. We can't talk about every institutions that you intend to nationalize, but in your manifesto, these two institutions were mentioned.
I mean the Reserve Bank and
the land.
Yes. Well, the land is the basis of everything. Let me make you an example of how a government can empower its citizens. The National Party in 1948, when it took over power in this country, nationalized almost every industry. That's how it was able to empower the Afrikaner. That's why the Afrikaner is economically so powerful today. Look, for our land to service our people, you need to nationalize it and place it in the hands of the state so that it services, it benefits our people. Today, there are places where you can't build houses because government has no land. The land is in private hands. These are the things that you need to deal with. That's why we will nationalize the land so that it services everybody. In this country today, you go to the Western Cape, black people, even the so-called middle class, can't afford housing because it is sold to foreigners. Now we are saying the land will be nationalized and there will be no foreign ownership of the land in this country in order for it to service our people. We are one of the few countries that have got a reserve bank that is in private hands, that simply regulates interest rates and increase them all the time, placing our people in the predicament they are in, where they can afford nothing, they can afford no loans, they can afford no houses, and so on. We will nationalize, not only nationalize, but also change the mandate of that bank so that it is involved in the developmental program of our people, including dealing with employment issues.
Mr. Swepu, let's look at the efforts of the Department of Rural Development and Agriculture, because most of the people in different provinces, in fact in all of these provinces, are given land for farming, whether it's crop farming or it's livestock farming.
Look, we've studied that area very carefully. What you are making an example of is disaster. That's a disastrous department.
What do you mean?
Look, you just need to look at the former homelands just to get a proper model of what it means to empower people agriculturally. People used to get crop, they used to get goats, to start up goats. Afrikaners were given trucks and all the utilities. Black people at the moment are not given those things. They are struggling on their own. That's why immediately after being given farms, they give them directly to white hands. I can take you to places like Hanki, where white people are meddling in the land that is owned by black people because there's no empowerment from government. And in our approach, we do not use the piecemeal approach where you must have ownership, that my parents were here. And so this land belongs to all black people. That's why we must nationalize it so that all black people benefit from the land. As I'm sitting here, I have no title deed to a land where I can prove that I once occupied this place. But where am I from? Where are my ancestors from? They're
But-
from this land.
The interesting part is how. How are you going to retain or regain the land that is already possessed by the
Remember, this is
capitalists and the foreigners in this
Remember, this
country?
is stolen land. I'm sure your analysts will tell you that you do not transfer illegal ownership. You do not become a legitimate
Are you going
owner.
to take it by force
Look,
as AZAP?
the ANC had a two-thirds majority in this country at some point. It had the opportunity to expropriate land through legal means. So that is what we are pursuing. But we certainly are appreciative of the impatience of our people, and that if we do not address this through legal means, we may be faced with what is happening in Zimbabwe, what had happened in Zimbabwe. Even though in Zimbabwe that situation has improved tremendously because people now have their land, we are a country where the black majority has no land. So what I'm saying to you is that we would, by any force necessary, repossess this land. Parliament will be the first option, where we do that through legal means. However, we would not be able to stand on the way of our people when they are tired of the slow pace of things in this country.
The Reserve Bank?
We will nationalize it.
And why?
Look, I think I had explained earlier that the mandate of the Reserve Bank is private. How do you regulate the economy through a private institution? You know, what is the Reserve Bank doing for you as Bud Pesina or any other person except regulating the economy for capitalists? About 800 white people are shareholders of the Reserve Bank, in case many people did not know. We are controlled by a private institution, and we're saying that must change. We must change the mandate of the Reserve Bank in order for it to assist with the developmental mandate of our country.
And how are you going to influence that?
Look, we intend to be government of the country. That's why we are contesting power. And even when we are not, even if we gain a few seats in parliament, we will continue to mobilize other parties. We're already working with many parties of the left. AZAPO is very influential, by the way, in setting the agenda in many institutions. We are talking to many political parties. We are bringing the left together so that we don't speak in different voices. And in that way, we will be able to influence. We are contesting to be in the legislatures. That's the only reason we're contesting power, so that we free our people, so that we influence legislation to free our people from the yoke of oppression.
What could be the reason for the capitalists, especially those who are saying, those that you are saying they are monopolizing the Reserve Bank? What could be the reason for them not to assist or fund your AZAPO?
You have asked a good question. Nobody funds a party that is for the people. No, because for you to be for the people, you've got to be against monopoly capital. They are certainly aware that if AZAPO were to be government in this country, we would govern for the people, and to govern for the people, we will have to...
Did you make a request for funding?
Look, we've made it publicly, and our people have funded us. We are happy with the funding for our people, because it means we are controlled by nobody. We are not controlled by capitalists. It is only our people that are controlling us.
Just before we go for a commercial break, you are going to contest national and provincial.
Yes.
At the very same time, you want to abolish that level or that sphere of government, that is the provincial government. Why are you contesting something that you don't believe in it?
It is the current system. You don't stay away from an RDP house and become homeless just because you believe that you will build better houses when you are in charge. That would be absurd. That's the system currently, and we would change the system by being inside the legislature. And we can't be shouting from outside. And it's what you are saying is very important. We want to abolish provincial governments because they are a waste of money. 700 billion goes into these provincial governments.
Let's leave it there,
Thank you.
Mr. Chris Swepu, and go for a commercial break. Ngoska khona ngokuba kunye nathi siyanamkela kwinkqubo yethu iVOB Voice of the Bay. Good evening and welcome back from the ad break. I am still hosting Secretary General of AZAPO, Mr. Chris Swepu. Once again, good evening.
Thank you, President.
You were elaborating or explaining the issue of abolition of the provinces, that sphere of government.
Yeah, I think we must also explain that it is not provinces that we are abolishing.
Legislatures.
It is provincial governments.
Yes.
We would still have centers, administrative centers, for purposes of coordination, but we will not have fully fledged governments where you must have a Minister of Health, another Minister of Health in the province, another Minister of Health in the local government.
I like the term that was used by President Nelvis Kakema, simple officials.
Yes, that's what we are going to have, because a lot of
Tell us more.
A lot of resources is wasted on a layer that is not the cold face of service delivery. Local government is bleeding resources. They are being used in the duplication of provincial governments that are unnecessary. So we would have a local government that is directly accountable to national government as policy makers and not have an in-betweener. You even have human resources that you could deploy to local government. Imagine all the people who are up there in provincial government being deployed in local government. At the moment, local government is used for cadre deployment. Mostly incompetent people. That's why we're in the state we're in. So we're saying we will redeploy those resources so that they play a meaningful role at local government level. And in that way, we'll improve service delivery to our people.
Do you want capital punishment to be used again in this country?
No, that's not what we're saying.
What exactly what we are saying?
AZAPO has a clear policy that does not support capital punishment. We believe in restorative justice. But what we are saying is that at the present state, our people have been demanding a referendum where they will now decide on their own whether they want capital punishment or not.
If people want capital punishment, what will be your position?
And we are saying we would not stand on the way of such a referendum. And if people want capital punishment, we would be a government of the people. They would get it.
So you don't oppose anything that people come up with?
No, remember, when there is a referendum, we would have an opportunity to present our position against capital punishment. But we are saying because we have a position against capital punishment does not mean we must not allow our people to participate in a discussion where they would also have a say. And if ultimately our position is defeated, we would have to respect the wishes of the people, despite our belief against capital punishment and for restorative justice.
The issue of border management, what is your view as AZAPO on border management?
Look, there's generally no border management in this country. I mean, you can go to Swaziland. I was in the border there. I saw people going in and out there without presenting any paper to anybody. We believe in a borderless Africa. Let's start there. But we are saying at the current moment, there are borders. They are mismanaged. And we have lots of illegal immigrants in this country. And when you have unaccounted people for in the country, those people tend to do as they are wishing. So AZAPO has a clear proposal to say everybody who enters this country must go through an immigration process. And we have been to countries when we were in exile where refugee camps are set for people and where people are processed in those refugee camps. And if they have a legitimate case, some are running from repressive governments, then we place them ourselves in the communities that we would have discussed with them and place them there. So you are able to account for everybody. Anybody who does not have proper papers or who does not show proper cause on why they should be in this country, you deport back. So you need to have those centers where people are processed. People don't just get into the country and choose that I'm going to go and live in Aitutjwa and open a spaza shop, and you don't know whether that person is there or not.
Let's talk about your candidate list for the province and for the national government. Are there any challenges that you are experiencing so far? Because the IEC has mentioned that today, I think it's the last day for any person who resides in South Africa who want to oppose any candidate that forms part of any political party's list.
Remember, we have no criminals on our list. Remember, we have no leaders who appeared in the Zondo Commission. So nobody objected to any AZAPO candidate. Those problems are problems of other parties. We are squeaky clean and ready to govern.
No one?
We have had no objection from anybody. Remember, we did not go to the Zondo Commission with this. There have been no accusations against us.
In the past elections, most of the people, I don't say everybody, most of the people don't support your party. What could be the reason? Because you are struggling to get seats in the municipalities. Even in national and provincial elections, you find it difficult to get numbers.
It is so obvious, Putpesi, that it is resources. You just need to calculate the amounts of monies that are used by parties to get one seat in parliament. When we got into parliament, we were the party that used the least of money to get a person to parliament. What it tells you, it dispels the notion that our people are not supporting us. It says parties that have the most resources achieve the most. And these seats are attained through blood money. We do not have blood money. Let me finish.
Okay.
Our message resonates with our people because I know where this question is. People keep saying that our message does not resonate with our people. Now, if you say you are landless, you are not free, and you look at yourself, you realize that you are landless and you are not free, how does that message not resonate with you?
Lastly, why people should vote for AZAPO?
AZAPO is a principled organization. You would recall AZAPO, there were two liberation movements in this country. We are the only liberation movement that did not go to CODES. We were promised billions of monies just to participate there. We knew that we would be unpopular because our people were excited at that point. We stood against the tide because we're a principled organization. And today our people have realized that the message, the objection of AZAPO to the compromises then were legitimate. So AZAPO stands with our people. We are the ones who have been crying out loud for genuine liberation, what we call Makoya liberation, Makoya freedom, not the 30 wasted years that we have experienced in this country. We would give our people true freedom. We will restore the dignity of our people. They will not stay in these houses that resemble shacks. Like we are saying, we will abolish shacks. There will be no shacks in this country. The
Thank you very
dignity
much.
of our people will be restored.
Secretary General of AZAPO, we thank you so much for making time. Sabaleka sengasevenkileni, emveni kwevenkile kumhlekazi uNyoka. Nkosi kakhulu kwakho ngokuhlala nathi ku Channel 260 on DSTV. Kulo usanda ungena ngaleli thuba siyakwamkela. Igama lami nguPercy M Lamani. Kanti ngaleli thuba samkela umhlalutyi wethu umhlekazi uMpumelelo Bond Nyoka, umhlalutyi wethu wezopolitiko kanti kwakhona nakwicala lomthetho siyamsebenzisa. Molo mhlekazi.
Mandibulise kwemsasazi nakwiMpuma Kapa TV, Voice of the Bay family. Good evening.
Enkosi kakhulu. Imicimbi liqela kodwa ke phambi kuba singene kwimicimbi edibanisa nenkundla zamatyala, ndingathanda ukuvakalisa izimvo zakho kwimanifesto le besithetha ngayo nomhlekazi uChris Kaswepu yombutho weAZAPO. Ntozini na othe wabe kanti zekunika umhla kakhulu?
iAZAPO, if singatsho, is yenye liberation movements zabe South Africa. Isuka kwi-BPC, Black People's Convention yango-17 nto yo-75, 76, 77 yo-Steve Biko. Isusa yayo i-black consciousness. Khange ke bathethe ngayo, ndazi uma bayiyeki basebeka icaleni na whether basayi-espousa na-i-black consciousness, but ikwinhliziyo ye-BPC, ikwinhliziyo ye-AZAPO. Hence negama labo sithi Azanian People's Organization. Ba-compromise bathi South Africa wathi Azania le. Igama elithandayo ke nami, without saying ndiyayendosa. Zinhle into abazithethileyo endiphuma nazo, some of them, ileyo ukwenza to do with provincial governments, not with provinces, but the provincial governments. Yenza isense lato because bonke abanye bathetha ngeeparties, iiparties ezithetha ngemanifesto. Wakubuzwa le mali nizokwenza u-ABCD namfumana phi, bathetha sawunciphisa kwi-blue lights, i-blue lights zibe mbalwa, sinciphisa i-cabinets. What about eza administrations zikhoyo zinintshe zi-9 njebesitsho ulanto Mr. Swep Minister of Health njalo njalo transport for 9 provinces? It's too much. Sibe ne-staff, support staff zazo, yenza isense leyo. Yeyona nto significant yoyiredyusa ilanto i-debt okanye unciphisa imali, usave imali manditsho, uyise apho kufuneka iye khona. So ndilithathile gqithi loo nto. Enye into endiqwalaseleyo ke bayathetha nawo ngomhlaba, is key into yomhlaba, i-fundamental into yomhlaba, noba abantu bakhululeke bonke. Qha ke andiyazi njengoba ndihleli phaa ndibukele, ndiyaziva zintle zonke izinto bezithethayo. Kudala bezithetha zintle zinjalo after 1994 ungena kwabo, but andiyazi banqaba phi na abantu bayivotele. Ikhona le nto ibambayo, uthi ke yimali, ibhajethi. Kaloku kufuneke uye ebantwini uyokwenza i-funding ukuze ube khona imali. Ayisoze nje iwe emthini. Nabanye bangenile pha kwiipati ezindala, Kiss Party. Usakhumbula i-Kiss Party?
Oh yes.
Yaba khona iyalala iyongqengqa ize ngexesha levote ukayazi ivumbuleke phi na. Sozorejistarishe kanti akho mali.
Okay.
So mababe ne-means as creative. Noba i-core members ziraise eza mali, ziraise i-crowdfunding yenziwe. Yeah.
What about their support if the people of South Africa want it? Capital punishment.
abathi bathi i-strategic le ndlela baze ngayo abathi bayisapota qha bafuna ubanika i-chance abantu baye kwi-referendum. I-point yam is how many referendums ozawuzenza nge-issues ezithile if uzovula elo cango, because usection 10 we-constitution, section 10 or section 11 uthi every person's got the right to life. The right to life is the only right constitution engena limitation, which means akunathatha ubomi bomntu under any circumstances. So automatically it does away with the death penalty, unless we have to change the constitution. Most countries move away from the death sentence. Ewe, in knee-jerk reaction ebantwini babafuna i-death sentence because i-crime ininji. Uyaqonda phela, but funeka sidile ne-causes, not the symptoms. Because what are the causes of crime? Can it be cured only by a death sentence? That is the issue. Bekwilita yasePakistan eyayigwetywe kudala 20 years ago, death sentence. Sandufumaneka ngoku ecourt into yoba ugwetywe rongo laa mntu ePakistan. So zenye ze-disadvantage ye-death sentence that if kubekho i-error eyenziweyo, you cannot bring back that body. But if usentence umntu for 20 years wenza i-error, usekula 20 years, ungakwazi umkhulula. But the issue is we're a human rights community in the whole world. We cannot stoop to the low level yalo mntu ubulele umntu nathi sithi sambulala. Uyaqonda? That's what it means. An eye for an eye is no longer in the modern society. Zimbalwa countries not. They are criticized about that. But I stand, I'm anti-death penalty because of the constitution, the right to life. Most people have been since the 60s. Many of them, it was targeted for them. Ngebephila ngoku okanye ke besweleke under natural causes okanye balasta njengoMandela 90 years, it was targeted for them, to silence them, not to raise their voices against the brutal system of apartheid.
Let's move on and talk about the Maphisa Nqakula and NPA case. Another case that is very much interesting. It's a case between the ANC and the MKP, Umkhonto weSizwe Party.
All right. In summary, uMaMnosiviwe Maphisa Nqakula learned through the newspapers that she was about to be arrested, and then she applied to court to interdict the NPA or the police, to interdict the police from arresting her, citing that it's going to humiliate her. Who's the speaker, so to speak, and she's old. It's going to infringe her rights to freedom and security, etc. There's no need for that. That is the context or background regarding that. The issue that I have about that is that police are coming between two stages. When there's an allegation of criminality, that's the first stage, and when if those allegations are there, taking the person to court to answer for that. So there are allegations and court. The police are in between that. Why they are in between, they must secure the person against whom there are allegations to go to court. In terms of Section 38 of the Criminal Procedure Act, there are 3 means of securing a person's attendance to court. The first one is arrest. The second one is summons. The third one is notice of an indictment to appear in court as long as you're above 18 years. If you're below 18 years, the Child Justice Act for those people under 18 applies. You don't have to arrest, so to speak. You have to be safe, home of safety, njalo. So the act, the way it is phrased, it says, in order to secure the person's arrest, it shall be secured. It doesn't say maybe. It shall be secured by any of these 3 means: arrest, summons, or or that interdict or that notice. It is not a permissive obligation. That is, there's a discretion. The police can choose any of the three. You see, it doesn't say may. If they say they want to arrest you, arrest you. Arrest, yes, it's a very drastic means. It violates a person's rights to dignity and privacy. But every right in the Constitution, except the right to life, is limited. So your right to privacy or right to freedom is limited if there's an allegation that you committed an offense. Also, for instance, if you are caught red-handed committing a crime, can't say I'm exercising my right to privacy, don't arrest me. Okay, I think you want a break. Okay,
Yes, we will go for a commercial ad break, Mr. Bondi Nyonka, and continue with this important issue of Mamuno Siviwa Mapisa Ngakula and the NPA. Let's go for a commercial ad break for the last time. Chance to and then
was
Inkosi kwakhona siyanamkela kwinkqubo yethu i-VOB. Sasifikelela ke kwi-segment yethu yokugqibela nayo Mhlekazi uNyoka. Mhlekazi uNyoka, masikwamkele kokugqibela nawe kwinkqubo yethu. Uba ungagqibezela kulomba wale case ibalulekileyo kamama uSpeaker weParlamente National Assembly kwakhe naye NPA, sizojonga ke ezi court cases ezimbini. Leyo yokuqala ibiphakathi kombutho we-ANC kwakhe naye IEC ngomba we-MKP umkhonto wesizwe. Ngomso it's ANC against umkhonto wesizwe.
Let me finish my point. As I said, Section 38 empowers the law enforcement to secure the attendance of a person any of those three ways. There is no way, therefore, an individual can interdict an entity from exercising the powers that is given by law. It's futile. Unless a person can say, remove the element of arrest from the Criminal Procedure Act, retain only summons and notice, because arrest by its nature is violating a person's right to privacy. How can you do that? You apply to court for a declaratory order for the court or any constitutional court to say, the constitutional court or any court to say, from now on, the issue of arresting a person is going to be unconstitutional, except when a person is found red-handed, because it violates a person's rights to privacy and liberty. But it cannot fly. As I said, no right is unlimited. You see? No right is unlimited, so it will be there. But you cannot say, don't exercise your duties that you are given to the court. And second, conversely, you cannot claim a right that you do not have, because for now, she has been invited to come to the police station. Where this problem arises is because there was a gentleman or ladies' agreement outside Section 38 of the Criminal Procedure Act or outside the Criminal Procedure Act to say, look, we'll give you time, come. No, I'm going overseas, I'm doing this and this and this. The police and the suspect created a different scenario where now some so-called rights and duties were established. Now someone says, no, we are not abiding that by our agreement, therefore I'm taken to court. It's not supposed to be like that. The person that is out on bail or who was convicted is wondering, what does Section 9 of the Constitution mean? Because Section 9 says everyone is equal before the law and they are entitled to equal protection and benefit of the law. If you are supposed to be arrested, you have to be arrested. Whether you're a speaker or a common criminal or a janitor, you have to be criminal. You have to be arrested. So this shows a picture of inequality just because a person is in a certain position. You understand? So it violates the right to equality. The police should have said, put their foot down. If you are not coming or arresting you, it doesn't matter whether you are a president or a secretary of the president or a garden girl or tea boy of the president, you get arrested because of Section 9 of the Constitution.
Lastly, Mr. Bonyonga, how is it going to affect the Speaker if he is charged by the MPA. Remember, his political party, the African National Congress, is also waiting for the charges to be implemented. So there is this step aside that the ANC is busy with. How is it going to affect her?
If there's an allegation against you, you are charged, regardless of whatever arrangement you have with your party. The ANC, the organization of Mrs.
Mapisa
Nqakula has got a step aside. That has nothing to do with law enforcement. It has everything to do with the ANC.
But if she is
If
charged,
it might implement it. I can't talk for it. I'm talking about what the law says. It's a constitution of the ANC that is not law. It's just a constitution of the ANC. It's not binding as such to the whole country. It's
But
binding all upon. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It means she will step aside, but she's not even in the list. We're going for elections in 2 months. It's going to be purely academic, her stepping aside. You understand? She's not in the list. She's not coming back. Parliament is just about to close, so it's a non-event.
Let's look at the issue of or the case between the ANC and MK about the intellectual property.
Okay, the case is still ongoing.
Yes.
It's on now.
The judgment has been reserved today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The issue is about, okay, a trademark is some symbol of yours, an intellectual property that you have. It may be registered or may not be registered. There's no requirement about that. The ANC did not register the name ANC and its logo. The reason why it could not register MK is because it was banned as soon as it was established. The ANC claims that it has been part of the ANC family, the Mkhonto weSizwe and the colours, long ago. Now the other parties are saying, but no, it does not belong only to the ANC. Five parties, including SACP, came together and decided there should be Mkhonto weSizwe, but it will operate as a military wing of the ANC. That is what they are saying. Second, also the other argument is that, but you disbanded the Mkhonto weSizwe, so it's free for all. You understand? It will be interesting to find out how the ruling is going to go about that. But let me just say, the law says that if you've got a trademark, registered or not registered, no one may use your trademark or steal it. If they do so, it's what is called in common law passing off. That is pretending as if it's you, whereas it's not you, to the detriment of your business or your electorate or electoral chances if you're a political party. But you must show that you'll suffer that for pass off to succeed. There must be harm, and you'll suffer harm if that is allowed, if that delete or wrong is allowed. You understand? So we'll hear what the court says, but the issue will turn on whether really it was taken as ANC property in the first place. Can it be said that MK was ANC property in the first place? If it jumps that hurdle, then the second step will be much easier of whether there was pass off. In other words, it pretended to be ANC people. And lastly, if it's allowed to continue like that, it will deceive or confuse voters. Even if something is yours, if there is no allegation that is going to deceive or confuse voters, you can use someone else's property. So you must show a lot of things. That it's yours, you'll suffer harm, and it's going to deceive or confuse voters. All those three elements, regardless of what was decided by the Electoral Court about the late objections. There's a separate issue that the ANC lost yesterday. You remember it lost because it did not apply, it did not object timelessly within 30 days to the registration of MK. This is a separate one, although the parties, the contestants are the same.
A lesson that can be learned from this case?
Two lessons. The first one is that, you know, like a newspaper or switching on TV or radio, at all times you listen or switch on. The Gazette is important for that. People must read the Gazette because your rights are there. See whether your rights are still there or they have been taken away. If the ANC people were vigilant by reading the Gazette, they could have taken it up that there is an MK party that was registered and acted immediately. Someone dropped the ball. So that Gazette, that is the lesson. Read the Gazette, find out whether your rights have been added or not added. The last one, on a policy issue, even if MK wins, it is wrong to steal someone else's property. Have your own property. Rise Mzansi is an example of creativity. It's a brand that stands on its own. Don't steal other people's property, even if you win in court. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mpumelelo Bondi Nyoka. Ngolo hlobo lenkubo yethu ifikelele esiphelweni. I-VOB Voice of the Bay with myself, Percy M. Sibuye sibonane kwixesha elizayo busuku benzolo. Kanti ke idinga likuveki izayo phakathi kwentsimbi yesixhenxe ukuya kwintsimbi yesibhozo. Good night.